Goedemiddag aan al onze kijkers. Het is weer tijd voor een interview met key opinion leaders uit de industrie. Vandaag hebben we een speciale gast, Gadi Ghai, Chief Technology Officer van BitcoinOS. Welcome, Gadi. Thank you for having us and the opportunity to speak to you about BitcoinOS.
Hi, Raul. It's great to be here.
Thank you, thank you. So for those who aren't familiar yet, what exactly is BitcoinOS and why is it such a big deal for the Bitcoin ecosystem?
So what we're building is an operating system for Bitcoin. In a sense, working with Bitcoin today is a little like working with computers in the 60s. Like you ordered a computer and you got this big metal box and you had to write an assembly code. And assembly code is not easy to write in, and you had no help from the operating system because there wasn't one yet. And even if you come to think of it, Bitcoin script is even pretty bad as assembly code because it's very limited and it doesn't even have simple things like goto that were like the thing in the 60s. So what we want to do is to build an operating system that allows you to build all of the interesting and innovative applications that you want on top of Bitcoin.
Okay, that's and so I assume that you're very deeply rooted in the Bitcoin principles still, but you also emphasize interoperability and also the producing of apps on top of the Bitcoin ecosystem, something which is up to now not really seen often at all. How do you see Bitcoin OS finding the balance between staying true to those principles or the ethos of Bitcoin whilst expanding across other chains, for example, like with Cardano, bridging to Cardano, or any other examples you may have?
Well, right now, as a user, if you want to do something interesting with your money, you have to choose if you're doing it on Bitcoin or somewhere else. On Bitcoin, you have security. We trust Bitcoin. We believe in Bitcoin. We know that Bitcoin is safe. Once I take my funds elsewhere, I don't know. I don't know who's running it. I don't know who's handling it. There's a lot of counterparty risk. We've seen a lot of hacks lately where money just disappeared into nowhere. And but obviously on Bitcoin there are much fewer applications. There aren't as many opportunities for me to do things with my funds. What we want to do is to give you all of the opportunities that exist outside of Bitcoin, but without giving up on the security and the idealism that goes into securing funds on Bitcoin. And I'm saying idealism because a lot of people treat it almost as an ideology, right? It's not only a question of how safe it is, it's also a question how it fits with my ideology. You're muted.
Yeah, this is going to lead me to the fact that some Bitcoin developers or Bitcoin maxis might challenge the fact that it goes against the general or their philosophy of Bitcoin, and they want to keep it as simple as that. But I do see that Bitcoin is not only a store of value, but can be used to create actual products like is done on other chains like Solana or Ethereum at such a large scale.
Well, what we're not doing is we're not changing Bitcoin. We're not forking it. We're not adding any additional opcodes. There's been a lot of talk recently about adding opcodes into Bitcoin to allow additional applications. We're not doing that. We want Bitcoin to stay exactly as it is because that's what we believe in. But we still don't want to give up on the opportunities that additional applications can bring us.
Yeah, that's very understandable, and that leads me to Bitsnark version 2 or 0.2, may I say, is now open source, which is a major milestone. And why is this such a pivotal moment for enabling programmability on Bitcoin?
Well, Bitsnark is the first example of an application that allows you to do something that until recently has been impossible. And that is, on Bitcoin, funds cannot be owned by a smart contract. Funds can only be owned by a person or a group of people. And if I take my key and I give it to a machine, That machine can also own funds, but I know the secret to that key. In other words, on Bitcoin, there's always a counterparty. There's always somebody who can steal the funds. That's
Yeah.
like smart contracts on Ethereum, where a smart contract can control the funds and nobody can take it away from the smart contract. Bitsnark allows for the first time for funds to be locked in a way that no human being can control. And this is a huge thing. And so Bitsnark is the first practical system that allows this. And by open sourcing it, we're doing a few things. The first thing is that we're showing that this is actually possible. So I've had a few people come up to me and say, we don't believe that you can do that. It's too complicated, it's too difficult, it's too expensive. So what we're saying is it is possible. We've done it. And here is the code. You can read it for yourself and see that it works. You can run it for yourself and see it in action.
Which in theory should bring more, developers to want to build.
Well, we definitely want developers to try to want to build using it. Yes.
That makes sense. And you also have other products like Grail, which is, if I'm not wrong, a bridge, a trustless bridge for Bitcoin. Can you walk us through how that works and how it overcomes failures of other bridges, for example?
Well, it's important to understand that Bitsnark is an enabling technology, but it's not the product that we're trying to sell. Bitsnark is like I think that the best analogy is that Bitsnark is like the screw that connects the wings to the airplane. You can't fly without it, but that's not why we build airplanes, right? We build airplanes because we want to get places. So Bitsnark is the first step. The next step, which is a very natural step, is that it allows us to build trustless bridges. And by trustless, I mean that unlike every other bridge today, there is no counterparty risk for this bridge. There is no person or group of persons who together can steal your money. This is a huge thing, but this also is only the beginning. Once we have programmability on Bitcoin and we can build smart contracts on top of Bitcoin, then really the sky is the limit.
Okay, so that's currently that the programmability is what's stopping it from really exponentially growing to what it could potentially be. Like you said, sky's the limit.
That's right.
Okay. And the other thing I wanted to touch upon was you have the phase one of the BOS token pre-sale complete. What can the community expect in terms of a roadmap progress, phase two timing, and the token utility in the coming months?
Well, I'm actually a technical guy. I can answer technical questions. I'm not savvy to that stuff.
Okay, fair enough. I thought I would ask anyway, just to see if we could get anything out of that. And my final question is, looking ahead to the rest of 2025, what are big milestones or breakthroughs you're focused on for Bitcoin OS?
Wow, so we have a lot of stuff in the barrel. The first thing we want to productionize is the Grail bridge, and that should be available shortly. After that, we have some more interesting technologies that I can't really talk about because we're going to publish some white papers and the details are being finalized, and it's a little secret. But please stay tuned because the white papers are coming very, very soon. And then you'll see really how far the vision can go.
Okay. And as a final question, are there any events that you will be attending in the near future that people should check out, or come and see you if you are a speaker, or if anyone in Bitcoin OS is a speaker?
I'm less of a public speaker.
Okay,
I
you
think
say you stick to the technology side.
Yago is better at that sort of thing. But I will probably be there by his side if possible.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time, Gadi. That was
Thank
it for us.
you.
No worries. Have a lovely day.
You too.